Hello, dear audience. This is Black Mountain Analysis video, and I'm Lena. And today I'm joined by Diego Exposito, who is an aerospace engineer with PhD in hypersonic papers on theoretical mechanics in regional scientific journals, and strict experience in artificial intelligence research and works as a consultant regarding advanced technologies. Well, I'm joined by a really interesting person today, and our main topic is artificial intelligence. Well, first I thought of doing a reading on IE, but then I decided that I will leave it all to professional to explain us what the topic is. I have a definition of what intellect is, according to a dictionary. It's the ability to think in a logical way, and human intelligence is mental of the abilities to learn from experience, adapt to new situations, understand and handle abstract concepts, and use knowledge to manipulate one's environment. So this is what human intelligence is. But now we are supposed to learn what is IE and how it is different, or in what way it might be different from what human intelligence is. And I'm passing word to Diego. Diego, please tell us about this exciting.
So, firstly, the definition that I personally will have for intelligence is different. For me, it is the ability to find a correct pattern with the minimum amount of data possible. And that is how it is measured in IQ tests. Usually you are given a set of an amount of time, and you have different questions. Those questions have a specific answer to them, and whoever finds them the fastest or with the least amount of data is the one that has his IQ score measured as higher. The definition that you gave is not strictly incorrect, but it's very, very vague to be able to use it in a proper manner. And this is going to be related with AI, as I will discuss later. Now, AI, artificial intelligence, is actually a subset of a bigger field, and that field is machine learning. Machine learning is the ability to find patterns in your data using algorithms. So, for example, if I have gathered data about people's height and weight, I'm interested in finding out what the relationship between the height and the weight is. I can train an algorithm on it. I can have the machine find out the relationship, and it's going to be a linear relationship. The height is going to be proportional to the weight. AI specifically is a machine learning algorithm that is based on an artificial neuron, which is the perceptron. The perceptron as a model was developed in the 20th century. The problem with the artificial neuron is that by itself it doesn't do much. You need a very large amount of neurons to be able to perform a task with any degree of accuracy. The reason why we're interested in machine learning and AI specifically, it is because we want to find patterns that are particularly complex. That is, human speech is fairly complex. Human vision, finding the relationship between proteins and how they are organized based on a language, the structure of new materials. If those materials have to meet a property, what the structure of those materials should be. So we essentially use AI to find those complex relationships. Now, precisely because of its iterative nature, nobody can strictly tell you how an AI works. The AI is going to look at your set of data. It's going to try to find a pattern. But once it has found the pattern, it will not tell you why it has found that pattern. The whole process is purely iterative. And this is both how the AI works, how it is trained, and how it is also developed by the industry, by the company that develops the AI. So you will find situations where even the AI developers don't strictly know how the AI performs the tasks that they have programmed. That is because when they develop the AI, they develop it through tinkering variables. So they will have a metric, which is kind of like a performance test for the AI, trying to measure how well the AI performs for a task. And once it has a score, they're going to the AI is going to find out how each one of its parameters has contributed to that task, to that metric. It's going to recalculate and then rechange its parameters to try to fit the task and try to give the best performance. So if you were given an AI, if for example somebody gave you ChatGPT the whole binaries, how it the code, not the code, but the compile files on which you would be able to run it, you would still not fully understand how it runs because you cannot open it and find that relationship. So it's just it's very iterative.
So here, to put it clear, does it resemble human brain maybe? Because when you're speaking of artificial neurons, and we have neurons, and there is also neuroscience which goes around the brain, and they try to figure out how the brain works, but nobody can tell for sure, for now at least. So maybe something, it resembles AI much. And say if I type a word in Chat GPT, like, I don't know, a mountain, and it knows that it is a mountain, but yeah, I think it's much of like human thinking, maybe. Can it be corrupted this way?
The human brain definitely has an iterative pattern to it when it learns, and that's how kids learn as well. The first thing they learn is from their parents. Everything that has to do with behavior, how they should behave in a social situation, or how they should interact with other people, they're going to learn it through their parents, and they're going to mimic. They're going to gauge how that performance, how good that performance was based on the reaction of the parents. And so there is definitely an iterative nature to it as well. The human brain is actually more efficient than an AI at performing tasks. ChatGPT and other more recent models, they actually have more neurons than the human brain does, which suggests that the human brain is arranged in such a way that it is more efficient. It needs less neurons to do the same tasks. And even though AI has a very large brain, it still does not perform exactly like a human. You are still able to find out things like, for example, how generic something like GPT can sound sometimes when you ask it a specific question with details. So there's definitely an attempt to mimic the behavior just in a similar way when people were trying to find out how to fly. The sketches from Da Vinci, they were about trying to mimic the movement of birds. But the difference between AI and human brain is that the AI can, in theory, scale indefinitely. In the sense that you just add more neurons, it's going to come down to hardware. You put more and more neurons on it, you evaluate the performance, and your belief is that there's going to be a critical mass of neurons beyond which you get the human performance. And then with super intelligence, people are considering whether if you can actually get something even smarter than a human, how that would look like, even if a human brain can comprehend an intelligence that is above his. So it's very, very fascinating field, and yeah, it's definitely interesting.
Yeah, that's really exciting because I was thinking that we are trying to create some kind of electronic brain of a sort. Isn't that so?
Mm-hmm. Again, the purpose is to mimic their behavior. Now, funnily enough, AI has many more applications than just NLP, which is what we're talking about here, natural language processing. There have been other uses for AI, for example, to do digital cloning. So digital cloning is having the data about a person, for example, medical records and different information you can gather from their online presence. You can actually reconstruct that whole person's maybe what their genetic profile looks like, what their psychology looks like, and that leads to quite a few questions as to like moral questions as to whether if that's something acceptable, whether if at some point you're going to be able to recognize what the whether if you're talking to an actual AI or if you're talking to a human. Now, we focus a lot on human behavior in Western economies due to the fact that we have a service-based economy. So a lot of times we don't manage materials themselves, but we manage more information across different humans. That's why we're interested in that specific subset of AI. But it's a very wide range of it has a very wide range of applications, in very industrial applications, manufacturing, chemical processing, and it's going to be interesting to see where it goes.
Yeah, because recently I have seen a video when it was like a news, news introduction, and the girl who was on screen, she was purely AI created, and she was speaking, if I'm not mistaken, about some rocket launcher or something like that, and she looked exactly like human. So practically I can copy myself in a while in a PC, like in AI, and it will recreate a full copy of me, which will be asking questions and which will have maybe behavior which resembles myself too.
You have to be careful. One of the problems with AI in the way that the industry works right now is that it's very social media based, and so you're going to see videos, and for example, there's videos as well of interviewees going through an interview, and they go through the interview questions with an AI helping them out, and the AI essentially replies to all the interview questions. A lot of those videos are designed for effect, in the sense that what's happening with the AI has been very carefully tailored to give you the specific performance that you're looking for in that video. So it might not be representative of how the AI actually performs in an uncontrolled environment. But the challenge with AI when it comes to this trying to really mimic this type of patterns that you see in videos is that the AI still operates on fairly generic data. So ChatGPT, has been trained on what is called the English corpus, which is digitalized textual information in English, which includes Wikipedia, Reddit conversations, Twitter conversations, and the resulting AI that you get is one that can speak in a very general manner. So it is still not quite there for very specific information. The way that people are doing it, they're doing it in different ways. Sometimes they have the AI go through a database of specific information. So in your case, for example, talking about rockets, the AI does not necessarily know by default about rockets, but there will be a database in the form of PDF files about rockets, and it will ask the programming pipeline, will ask the AI to process those PDFs before delivering an answer. There is not an actual training process. It's more for the AI. The AI doesn't actually know. It just works on the data, and that's essentially a business solution for a specific problem, because the amount of data that is necessary to train an AI like ChatGPT is just humongous. It's a very large amount of information, and when it comes to a specific field, by definition, specific field will usually not have enough information in the form of scientific papers. It will just not be enough to train an AI from scratch. So one solution is what I said about the AI working on that specific set of data. Some people are going to I have been trying to train from scratch. It doesn't work very well. Other people try to do something for fine-tuning. Fine-tuning is when the AI is trained a little bit further in its training stage on the specific information. The success of that has been quite mixed due to the fact that, from a statistical perspective, the amount of specific information that you're introducing into the AI is not enough to bias the generic AI towards a specific solution that you're trying to get. So the reason why I went to the weeds with all this is to drive the point that the AI, due to the amount of data it needs, it really needs. Right now it's constrained to generic information. You're just not going to find a lot of specific information, and that comes back to the definition of the intelligence that I gave before. Hopefully, in the future, we're going to get AIs that are sufficiently intelligent so that the amount of data that you need to train them is reduced. And that's from an engineering perspective, that's very important, because as somebody that works in this industry, when you're trying to meet a client's needs, the client is usually going to give you the data, and the data is by definition scarce, probably even costly to get the data. So you need an AI that is data efficient. Right now, AI is still very generic. Hopefully in the future we get better pipelines to get more specific behavior.
I see. So here I can, from what I understood, there are two like major fields. One is more for entertainment, like GPT and all those speaking, I don't know, ladies on the screen. And the other one can be used in science and can be used for solving some really important problems. Am I correct here?
Yes. Even ChatGPT was not necessarily developed for entertainment purposes. The goal is to interpret text. That's really the big goal. And the beauty of interpreting text is that then you can operate on the text and find do a few tasks, like for example, doing an abstract about a text, or summarizing it into a bullet point, a list of bullet points, so that you have specific commands that then you can pass on to an AI that will perform a specific task. So with ChatGPT, you can talk, you can have a conversation with it. And hopefully in the future, the idea is you can ask ChatGPT to book your flight. ChatGPT will have to interpret your request, because the request is going to come in different formats. Different people are going to ask that question differently. And the ChatGPT has to interpret that, send it to an AI that's going to perform the task, do the task. There's going to be an iterative process, because it's not going to get the task right at the first try, and then come back and talk to the user again. So it's really it's very, again, oriented towards that service type of relationship with the client. There's a lot of companies that obviously are going to try to use it for sales, to have virtual assistants. Medical doctors, GPs, have been using it for to have the AI support them in their query of information when it comes to medical information, because the databases are huge. So that is in and of itself. The industrial one, it's less spoken about, but sometimes it also involves AIs that can quote unquote speak. So going back to the example with the proteins are coded in such a way that it's actually a language. Interpreting the language, it's not human language, but still a language that has to be interpreted by the machine, so that then the chemist can figure out the properties of the protein and how to develop, I presume, medicine, biochemical components based on that. The important thing is one of the most important fields is material science, due to the fact that that's where a lot of that's where the rubber meets the road when it comes to industry needs. Usually, a lot of your engineering challenges, they come down to the materials that you're using. So there's a lot of research into that. And then you have also more fancy projects, as we mentioned about ChatGPT interpreting a mountain, image generators. They're working very well now. They are able to generate an image based on your query, and the goal, one of the goals that they have when developing this AI, is to be able to produce a full video in the future. So that you get text, a plot, like as in you were writing the script of a movie, and then the AI will be able to come with a video. Right now, we are not quite there yet due to the fact that there's no frank consistency, in the sense that we ask the AI an image, we'll give you an image, you will ask for the next step in the plot for a subsequent image, and the image changes too much to be able to use those images on a frame per frame basis. But we'll get there, and that is definitely oriented towards the entertainment industry. So you're going to have AIs that write a whole script, that may be able to generate a video out of that script, and yeah, those are different fields where the AI can be used. Another field that people have been floating around is new alphabets. We have the way that we have developed the alphabet is from Semitic language, and it's just in the Western environment, it's a very concise set of symbols. However, nothing prevents us from designing a new alphabet, a new set of symbols that is tailored to a specific task. The task could be speed of learning. It could be I don't know if linguists are going to come up with a metric for grammatical ease or something like that. But there's definitely ways to use AI in that field as well. So there's if you have a tool that is able to find patterns and to act on those patterns, the possibilities are very there's a very wide range of possibilities, and it's very interesting.
Yeah, indeed. Especially, I'm very interested in that in alphabets, because I'm studying like Sanskrit, and I see how like Romanic symbols differ from Cyrillic, and how the perception of the text differs. And what is very interesting is like China and Japan, they have hieroglyph systems. So maybe that speed of learning, it depends on how much of information you can encode in one symbol. Like you have symbol, and that's yeah, that might be maybe how to say, a basis for learning of the IE. Can it be that? So, and maybe we can incorporate that in like in human studies too. So you see the picture and you know right away that this symbol represents the whole set of principles, maybe.
I don't know if China and Japan are going to use. I know that, for example, in China, they use the the pinyin system, which is actually it's actually based on Romanized alphabet, so that you can get the symbol. There's more than 3,000 symbols. You can get the symbol out of the word that you are typing in the pronunciation. You type the pronunciation in the Romanized alphabet, and then you get the symbol, because it's not uniquely determined. You can have different symbols for one voice, for one sound that you're articulating with the Roman alphabet. So definitely there could be developing an AI for that, and an AI that could be designed for ease of use. For example, there are challenges to it. I know that dyslexics will have a very bad time with that type of alphabet, due to the fact that you will probably have a lot of letters that will be very similar to each other. So the fact that technology is there doesn't mean that there are other technical challenges linked to it.
But now, you know, I have a feeling that we are trying to create a personality of a sort. Is it so, or because how to view the IE? Is it a personality and a digitalized person, or it is like a tool? How to view it? Because, you know, I had an experience with that voice assistant, and I always try to keep quiet with voice assistant, because I don't know what she thinks of me. It's like it's totally my perceptions. It's personal perception, of course. It sounds funny, but I view that IE as which like lives in my smartphone as a personality. Is it a correct attitude, or is it like something not scientific? I don't know.
The question is whether if AI is sentient, and whether if it behaves in an emotional manner, or if it's just a cold matter type of type of thing. It's not. There's no reason for me to believe that the AI has an emotion attached to it, simply because the way that I see it would be as a set of numbers. It's difficult for me to imagine that it could develop an emotion. It definitely finds the pattern of emotion as a way to simplify its data. So when it has been trained on several conversations of people that may be angry or maybe in an excited state, the AI will be able to find and classify the emotional state of that person based on the language. So that is definitely a thing. Then the AI, if the model, if your psychological model that you use for different people is correct, you can definitely use the AI to mimic that emotional behavior, the emotional pattern. And then what you have is not so much an AI that feels, but it's an AI that knows how to mimic feelings. If it finds the conversational pattern that best fits the emotion label it will have found for its specific task. There have been conversations about using this in social media. I've heard, I think this was Meta, where they want to use AI to replace dead users, so the users that have passed away, and just as a service, so that it's not too hard. I guess it's for the members of the system. I don't fully understand their model, but you can definitely mimic emotional behavior. Definitely in AI generated movies, we are going to see that as well for different characters. Different characters will have to behave based on our temperament. But the question about AI is not with developer circles. It's not so much about emotion. It's more about super intelligence. It's more about can the AI program itself? Because the big question with the big problem with AI right now, if I want to use ChatGPT, it will not perform well for programming tasks. And the reason for it is because the actual reasoning capabilities of the NLP algorithm are actually very limited. It finds the conversation, but doesn't necessarily reason over it. So if I ask a programming question to the AI, it will give me a piece of code that it will have found on the internet. Most probably, it's not a piece of code that suits my needs, because otherwise I'll have found it on the internet. But what it's going to do is it's going to mix different modules, or even maybe different programming languages, put the piece of code together, and then give it to me as if that is a code that runs, and it is not. That's something that a lot of developers are disappointed. That's why another field of research right now is called copilots. So copilots are AIs that help the programmer program more efficiently, but they can't replace the programmer, simply because the AI does not run its own code, and it's still most AI still struggle immensely to learn how to code. So for us, the question is when the AI is going to be able to code, because then you have a recursive cycle. You have an AI that's based on code that can write code, so it can write itself, and it can keep improving itself. And that's the big question. I'm to my awareness right now, there's no AI that can program code efficiently, and that's really where the next big limit is going to be when it comes to developing AIs that are able to code and then rewrite themselves.
So, but for now, say a programmer can use those co-pilots just to check pieces of the code which is already already written.
Testing and debugging, and I'm not super aware of that. The way the copilot works is really an auto completion tab. So the way it works is it reads your code and it interprets your coding preferences. different situations, what you would write. And essentially helps you speed up how you are programming, but it doesn't necessarily run the code for you. Running the code would mean that the AI would need to firstly identify the language, which is not that hard, but then it would need to have available to it the software to be able to run it. So this is the compilers, and then you will have to have an ability to judge the result of the coding, which a lot of times is going to be an error because you don't get things right the first time. So you will have to be able to interpret the error, go back to where your error was made, and then start the next iteration. What needs to be changed there? Right now, it's just not the AI seems to be able, and by AI we mean natural language processing models. They seem to be able to perform better at linguistic reasoning than mathematical reasoning. Mathematical logic, there is an additional dimension to it that the AI is still not able to fully reproduce. That's why we have AIs. You have tests like the BART, which is a legal. It's a legal type of test for lawyers, and the AIs can perform very, very well on them. But when it comes to solving differential equations, programming code, the AIs are still very lacking in that realm.
Yeah, that's really, that's really interesting because, well, for a common person, it seems like, well, if it is AI, then it is easier for that machine to calculate the numbers and to make some logical correlations than to analyze the text. It's like unexpected turn for me, to be honest. But yeah, that's really interesting. So for now, you don't see the possibility of AI to replace, say, a programmer.
No, not in the capabilities are not there from publicly available data. Now, ChatGPT had been in the works for a very, very long time, and all of a sudden we just discovered this thing at the beginning of the year. So it's I cannot make the claim it doesn't exist. It might very well be somewhere, and then that's where people get a bit more on the on the science fiction side of things, or whether there's already an AI capable of doing that type of reasoning. Mathematical reasoning is particularly difficult due to a different set of acquired cognitive abilities that you need. One of the biggest problems that the AI has is it doesn't really know which variables are relevant to an analysis if it hasn't been trained on it. How to keep a logical chain consistent, because again the rules of logic are essentially the laws of Aristotle for logic, and the AI is not able to stick to those rules very, very well. So now what some people have been doing, they have been using what is called symbolic computing. So symbolic is precisely that the ability of the AI to interpret mathematical equations and things of that nature. But it is still very lacking. It could very well look when you look at the AI, at this history of AI, the way it has been developed is it has been developed in very cryptic circles. So I think the first AI models were developed by the NSA, which is the American one of the American security agencies. One of the first AI models was something called the autoencoder and decoder. So the autoencoder, which has an encoder and a decoder, and that the way that it is structured is just to essentially decrypt data. It's something that you would use to decipher a message. Something like have a message that, for example, would have been sent over Telegram. If it's encrypted, then you need an AI to be able to find the encryption, to be able to translate it back into the human language so that you can interpret what was reading in that message. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's already AIs out there that are able to reason, probably in very limited control environments, and they may be used for cryptographic purposes. That would be probably one of the first areas of application of such AIs, because it's how you would be able to access very critical information, banking information, even crypto. If you had an AI that was able to crack the code on which cryptocurrency is based, you would be able to modify the blockchain and then transfer all of that to you. So there's, from publicly available data, and we're not there yet. I cannot deny that maybe that's already in the works.
Yeah, I see. Because you know, it is like for me, the question is where to draw the line, where we should say stop. We are not using AI anymore, and we are just going human, because it's like processes like that it develops, and of course it's very interesting to develop like AI and to see how it works. But the question is, where is that line? You know, where we should stay like stay on human, more on human side, because science sometimes may go a bit in an humane way, and this is the question here I would like to.
I would say that's more that fear is based under the, if we restrict ourselves to the informational realm, so this is AI that can only operate in the information space. This will be under the assumption of the AI being able to use the information for harmful purposes. Now, for me, there's a lot of when was this? There was, I don't know who it was, if it was Elon Musk or one of these. They asked for regulations on AI essentially, and this was to make sure the AI doesn't come up with hate speech, or it doesn't come up with information pattern that would be deemed unsuitable for public discourse. This is based under the presumption that information can be harmful. The only way that I can see the AI going down that road would be for like maybe terrorism, recruiting, or that type of very dark unknown realm. But in general, there isn't, for me specific, there isn't really a threat that I see from AI within the informational space. If you have an individual that is so he can be so easily persuaded into doing harmful, carrying on harmful behavior based on what he sees on the internet, that individual is more of a problem himself than the AI that was there and doing the work. The AI is just exploiting a vulnerability, to put it some way. Now, yes, if we don't focus only on the informational realm, and we consider an AI that can actually do tasks, like for example, we were talking about the flights, maybe flying. Again, going back to the tourism example, flying tourists to a specific place and circumventing security procedures and things like that. That does get more interesting or dangerous. The effect that if such an AI appears, the effect that it's going to have is actually digitalization. So imagine if you have, for example, social media, and you have a lot of profiles that you no longer know if they're human or not. You start to question the whole point of being in social media. Because the point of social media is to interact with other humans. If all of a sudden you have a lot of bots and a lot of artificially generated content, you might as well not be on the internet. This is something that is a very big problem for social media companies. That's why Musk has mentioned that he wants to move Twitter back from the ad revenue model on which it currently supposedly works, back to a subscription model. Because with the subscription model, even if you have a fake bot, at least the bot is paying you money, which in practice it won't be, because if people were deploying thousands and thousands of bots, each one of them paying $7, whatever it is, to pay for their activity, the user that is engaging to this activity goes bankrupt very quickly. So it's going to have the effect of moving, of decentralizing the internet. On social media, Instagram, Meta has I think also suggested that they are going to move towards a subscription model. And even within those realms, maybe people just decide not to use social media as much. Same thing with Google. If Google decides to use AI to maximize ad revenue and starts showing you fake information or artificially generated information, that would also question the purpose of using a search engine in the first place. So fair enough. I think that's if we get that type of AI that can really have that much of an impact, I think that's where things will be going towards decentralization.
Mm-hmm. So practically, how I see it, like as a non-researcher, we need a good legal base for all the things happening in AI.
The legal, I mean, I'm not a lawyer, so this is a bit out of my field. But like, the fact that something is legal or illegal, the big question is whether if it's enforced. If it's something, if something is illegal, it's not illegal if it's not enforced. Right now, the way that governments are, at least in the West, which is what I'm most familiar with, the way that the digital laws are applied to is through the big tech companies, Google, Meta. They are the ones that, if there's terrorism content or any type of material like that on their social on their applications, they are the ones responsible for that content being shown. It's not the government. The government does not necessarily shut down those servers, that content. But if the companies don't do it, then you can bet that the government will. So they are the ones that will be, for all intents and purposes, implementing the rules of engagement when it comes to AI. It's going to be interesting. YouTube had already a lot of issues. This was a few years ago, in videos that were. It was showing videos that were not deemed ad revenue worthy, which means that it was not suitable for a wide audience. And they had a big crackdown on the type of content that can be shown on YouTube, precisely because of that type of situation. The more it's not very obvious to me how AI is going to be regulated, other than for extreme cases. And so the danger that I see as these rules are enforced, so we are going to have applications or social media that is going to be so generic in its nature that it's going to be just worthless. It's going to be purposeless. The best thing for YouTube, from an ad revenue perspective, is to be a kids app. Is to be an app that just is like TV that you would show for kids, very, very politically correct, very, very not insipid, but not harmless in any shape or form. Now, of course, if YouTube was that type of social media, then there wouldn't be as many people using it in the first place. And that still could be a model for YouTube if they want to make money and the younger audience is more profitable. When it comes, they tend to spend money more with more ease than adults do. But the effect of implementing more and more of these rules, in my opinion, is going to be a reduced, a shrinking base of users, I believe. Again, depending on what those rules are in the first place, which we're still trying to figure out.
So now, yeah, I have a lot of questions, of course, but I think we should like block them in groups and then answer them maybe in our next sessions. So to keep the very up to one topic. But in general, I will sum up and then you will confirm, am I correct or am I not? So first, what I have understood that IE, it is like a set of something operating on a set of data. It's first one, it is not a personality in any case, and it cannot train itself. And IE is how to say, well, it is more of a tool than of some kind of personality. This is because that is bothering many people. I have talked to my friends yesterday, and some people are concerned that it might start replacing people, or it may be, I don't know, maybe in some way become harmful to people, just acting. And I think what is the most important, what I understood here, we are very responsible of what we are putting into informational space. So IE learns from us. So we have to, like say, keep us in a normal state, and then we receive IE. So we get what we invest there, practically.
Mm-hmm. It's a correct interpretation. The AI will definitely be used for replacing humans. Also due to the fact that in companies, humans are also the largest cost, even though sometimes I might tell you that they are the largest assets. So there's definitely a push in that direction. Right now, for people that are worried about that, it's good for them to learn AI. Because AI is not going to replace a human immediately right now. It's just not feasible. It's just going to be a crutch for people to do their activities.
So we have to be one step ahead and continue learning, so we're not replaced at a certain point. Because I remember I'm like a user of one artist network, and there was a whole like you know, I forgot the word, when people just, it was like a flash mob of artists who was say no to IE generated images, but as a user, sometimes they cannot see the difference whether it was drawn by an artist, whether it was drawn by IE. But on the other hand, IE uses the data it already has to create something. So we're
it will empower artists that are very, very talented. Remember that since you are replacing quote unquote humans, artists are very, very talented and they have a very good skill set. Their capabilities will be magnified by the AI. The sad thing is AI now is a competitor for them. So they will have to figure out whether if the competition is so fierce that they will have to move to another field, or if it's something that they can use and adapt to it and evolve with it.
So IE is not a threat, it is a challenge, and it is like reason for us to keep on learning, as I see it now. So okay, I think we'll just finish now, and thank you very much for really interesting information. It was very insightful. I have lots of questions, but I have to save them for the next for our next meetings. I hope to see you soon, and we will schedule a meeting. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thanks for having me. Okay. Right.